And now, coming to you from the Pensado Media Center, powered by Westlake Pro.
Futures Guys present. We're in Nashville with YouTube. Pensado Wars December 3rd. A lot going on, including a brand new ITL. You're at the place. It's Pensado's place.
Hey everybody, thanks for dropping by. Gonna be a good day.
You have got spectacularly corporate cool hair today. That's
I
nice.
know.
Yeah.
And the person that gave it to me wasn't on probation this time. I like those prison cuts. You can get it for $5. Of course, they can do it with a shank, you know.
But yeah, I mean, it's very green. It looks good though.
Oh, thanks, man. You too.
Shall we go ahead?
No, let's talk about my hair.
Okay, cool. What else you want to talk about your hair? That's your preparation for that. Well, let's get into the information.
Okay, let's do it.
Excuse me. Hi, everybody. It is absolutely great to see you. License subscribes, always appreciated. Also, thanks to our incredible partners, 1500 or Nothing, the Blackbird Academy, Westlake Pro, Avid, DTS, Lander, and Fab Factory. A couple of calendar items. Pull out your device, get them up, and here we go. As we put this show up, we are in Nashville with YouTube. We're interviewing the awesomely talented Luke Laird. Sign up quickly at bit.ly/YouTube Nashville. Probably have to do it quick because we're down there while you're watching this. Another important date, December 3rd. That is the day of the Pensado Awards. That will be Pensado Awards 4. Got a new location, a new vibe. It's going to be so cool. We're really excited about that. It's going to be cool, right?
Yeah, very cool.
You like this new theater?
I do, a lot.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
You know, can I stop you?
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the foundations of the award show is the intimacy and seeing people and communicating and getting liquored up and have some fun.
Absolutely.
And this place is perfect for that.
I think so too, and I also like getting people to dress up. It's kind of fun because people show up, and so it's a night, and it's been such a great year in music.
Yeah.
So for information, go to pensadoawards.com. We'll be adding information there each week, and we'll be announcing hosts very, very soon. December 3rd, Henry Fonda Theater, Pensado Awards 4. Next week, a little tip into, we're going to have a new Indaba Mix contest. We'll announce that then. Check in for that. All right, DP, you've been in the lab, got some brand new ITLs.
I do.
So what do we have?
Man, I've fallen in love with a plugin called Diamond, so I'm going to show that with a little help from my friend Luca Pedalesi.
Oh, cool. And you've been updating your production technique?
Yeah, Russ Hughes and the boys over at Pro Tools Expert are always inspirational, so
they've inspired
I got a little technique.
Cool. Let's roll it.
Hey guys, I promised you we'd spend some time with my dear friend Luca Pedalesi and tell you a little more about the Diamond. I know you got curious because I'm telling you, I use it a lot. So, Luca, welcome, my friend. How are you?
Hey, I virtually argue right now. Virtually. We're only 5 hours away. I mean, not that bad.
When I go to Vegas and when I drive to Vegas, I can turn a 3.5-hour trip into 8 hours. I like all the little side trips and everything, it's like, it's so cool. Man, I love your place. DMI is looking better every time I see it.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. I mean, likewise, your room sounds crazy. Last time I was just raving with everybody here. It's like, guys, I know it's hard to get into studio's place. I was there, sick. I mean, it was crazy good.
Oh, shucks. Yeah, it sounds great. This Diamond plugin, the way I understand it, you wanted a way to capture your stereo bus in such a way that we could all share in some of the things you do. So explain what you did, because I'm telling you, I've never used a plugin like this. It's a game changer. How did you get, because when I use the plugin, I hear you in it. I can't be you and I can't sound like you, but I hear you in it.
This is ultimately the ultimate best compliment that I can hear from you, Dave. I mean,
thank you.
My sound is pretty much the past 10, 15 years of my sound is on this plugin. And reason why represent my mix and my sound specifically is the mid-range at top end that really I tried for over a year with the guys from Acoustica to find a way to really replicate that, which is at the beginning was kind of complicated because I was trying to take an hybrid of analog gear and plug-in and just put on one piece and make it simple. There is one knob. We are not looking an analyzer. We're not looking how many dB we're pushing. We just need to feel it. And that was my intention and my goal. And in the mid-range specifically, it's kind of unique because it's not round, it's not a peak. It has the interesting shape. So it's literally going from 500 to 12K in a very weird way. And it's just going up and down.
Can you share with us what pieces of gear you modeled?
Sure. It's sample-based, so it's convolution. And we use the mid-range. It's a rare mastering console from Italy. It's called Pearl. That has to be, it was not very popular. It was like late 70s, early.
Spell that. Can you spell that? What is it?
Pearl is a P-E-A-R-L.
Okay.
Okay. So there was like a mastering console in Italy for vinyl, late 70s, early 80s, that is very unique, cool mid-range. And it was kind of like the very wide open, kind of like I bring some mid-range in the front, I pull it back. But it was not linear. So this mid-range was shaped in a really unique way. And the diamond actually reacted in exactly the same way. It has this little weird bump around 6-7K going on the top end, whereas the top end is a mix from the Charter Oak EQ, another EQ here with the air band. And the 50K that you see at the bottom, at the end, it's really, we try to capture the bottom part of the 50 essentially. So you go up to 12 dB and you take a little bit of the, between the 10K and the 16K, 18K, in a way that is very smooth. Going a little bit of smiley face on the top, but then bring the mid-range in the front, it's kind of compensating in that case. So it enhances a little bit the side response on the transient. All the part that is like hi-hat and crash and rides and top part of the snare, 808 snares, everything that is sitting is coming from the mid-range, shaping up, and then all the little details on the top end, it just come up. So it's very organic the way that behave, in my opinion.
And I noticed when I use it, there's a little bit of a delay when I hit a button or turn a knob. That's because each time you turn a knob of any type, it loads a different impulse response, right?
100%, exactly, that's correct.
Has that ever been done before?
No, but because ultimately was the idea was to try to really be really about the sound quality. And because the plugin is extremely simple, you have a little bit of latency when you go the steps.
Yeah. You get used to it after a while. And trust me, if it took a week for me to get that sound, I'd wait a week when I turned the knob. Tell the guys at Acoustica, they just really, really, really got something that's very, very unique. I'm not going to put you on the spot. I can't wait to find out what's coming next. But you mind if I show a little bit of what we're talking about?
It's an honor, please.
Okay, you won't go anywhere, will you?
I'm here.
Okay, is my favorite part of this EQ, and there's so many parts. This particular band right here, the high mid frequencies. If I just had a knob, a plugin that don't have this knob, I'd be happy. This is a song by Denim, D-E-N-M. My good friend Mac Montgomery, over there at Brill Building with my other good friend Benjamin Groff. So listen to this knob, guys. Listen to this knob. Watch. Bless your heart. You don't know what you're missing. You don't know what you're missing. Bless your heart. You don't know what you're missing. You don't know what you're missing. Woo! That's mighty. Okay, let me show you another knob real quick. Luca, hang with us, buddy. My friend Luca taught me, turn up the input gain a little bit.
Yes.
And then turn down the output gain a little bit. And we're going to add some saturation. Now, the saturation, this works just like any piece of analog gear. The more the input gain you give it, the more it's going to saturate. This is what's so cool. Watch this knob. Watch when I click it. Now. Bam. That's so cool. Now watch. Bless your heart. You don't know what you're missing. You don't know what you're missing. Color. I like that. Like that. I fattened it up a little bit. The low mid, I didn't feel I needed it, but smooth as a baby's butt. I'm telling you, check this out. And then here's, as they say in the movies, here's the money shot right here. Watch this. Luca, I got to pay you a commission on everything I use this on, or can I use it for free once I get it?
No, there's no commission.
Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, I've never used anything that, we always talk about the old days and the analog days and this and that and this and that, but this is a whole new day. This is like nothing that ever existed. It's I know you guys at home think I'm hyping this up because of my friend Luca, but I'm telling you, I've never heard anything quite like this in any realm ever. Analog, digital, Tinker Toys, nothing. So, man.
I'm super humbled by this, and I mean that's again, I feel coming from you. I mean, it's the ultimate confirmation that it was worth it. The one thing that to me is the key is try to minimize the use of eyes and just give more about the feeling and not be able to see what's going on between 40 and 60 and just move and find the right spot.
Find it.
It's
Right.
to me it's key because what I was trying to think what really makes me feel good about use a piece of analog gear is really the sound. No, it's really the fact that I follow my feelings. I'm not following numbers. And even on the diamond it's minus and plus 12 dB, but you don't look numbers. You don't know. You're pushing or you're cutting. And you feel good or you feel good.
Hey, my friend, I got to run. Are there any projects that you want us to listen for and look for that you are proud of and want us to hear?
Oh, yeah. I mean, currently there's a record out from J Balvin. It's called Mi Gente. And the record is doing so well. I'm so proud about that song. And also the new Major Lazer. They just came out a few weeks ago. And it's doing pretty good and very proud of that work.
All right, my friend. I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Take care, Dave. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao. Bye-bye. See you guys next time.
Talk about a Kentucky boy. This one makes really good. Calvin Harris, Travis Scott, Rihanna, and of course Future. Welcome to the desk, my Kentucky homie, Seth Firkins. Hey,
Thank you
bro.
so much.
How are you, man?
Well, no, he's my Atlanta homie.
Well, no, it's a Southern thing.
Yeah.
Southern thing. Right on. Okay, cool. That was very black.
That's some Atlanta stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Gotcha.
a dab. It's something.
So, you know
It
what's
will
so
be
cool
soon.
about Seth is once I think we connected over social media or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun.
And then he wanted to came out from Atlanta, and we worked through some dates and so on and so forth. The move, because you actually started doing your work and learning your career in Kentucky,
In
right?
Kentucky, yes, sir.
Yeah. And
Yeah, I originally started as touring production management for a rock band, and really I just started as a roadie.
Yeah.
Just
A lot
pushing
of
some
people
speakers,
have.
for sure. I just liked the music they played and just kind of wanted to be around it more. I didn't really have any ulterior motive.
Right.
But yeah, once I started to go more and more, they saw me at shows that, hey, at least, you're buying beers and whatever.
Sure.
We'll at least get you in. I said, okay. So that went from getting me in free to, why don't you come backstage and kick it with us? And it was just a development, and I really started in rock and roll in Kentucky with a local band.
What got you from the roadie stuff to actually audio?
Really, I've been blessed, middle-class family, not rich, but I've had a job for a long time as well and a little bit of extra income. And I always used to put subwoofers and music in the car. And I loved my subs, 15, 10, it didn't matter. I just, whatever it would fit, however I could do it. So I started to get better with hertz and frequency, especially because nowadays I think a lot of people come to me for mixing because of the low end. Not just because of Future and the like, but because they really get that bass.
Absolutely.
I think that came from having a really good understanding back then of the difference between 45 hertz and 50 hertz and 60 hertz. And now obviously I understand notes are associated, so, but back then you don't know. You just, you know how to mess
You
up an
feel it,
amplifier.
but you don't
and,
know. Yeah.
and what ohm loads and well, it was a lot of stuff.
But you know what?
I do know what.
Thank you.
I'm
I don't
sure
need to
he
ask you.
does.
No, but I was going to say, one of the things that's consistent with our guest and with you is a lot of you guys started tinkering as kids with things.
Yeah.
pulling things apart, putting them together. Is that fair?
I think that's very accurate. A curiosity in the electronics world.
And then it puts you on a path, right? Because you want to know more, and you end up moving.
Well, the path is more of it's just a bunch of pieces.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've taken stuff apart. A lot of the stuff, looking up to you for so many years. I know you don't like that talk, but I have.
No, I like it.
He loves it.
I love it. I love it.
Looking up to you, that's part of it is knowing that people I looked up to also didn't really know what the hell they were doing at first.
Oh, completely.
And you just took
I took that
apart.
to an art form.
And that's everybody in the pro side.
Yeah. But you know what? It's a lot of it is when you're a little kid and you see a lawnmower on the side of the street, you figure you can turn that into a go-kart. Or you see a TV, you figure you can take the amp out of it and somehow make it a guitar amp, know? Right. Of course, you destroy everything in the neighborhood. But
that's how that starts you on your path, though.
Oh, man. I was on a first-name basis with the garbage men because they took about an hour at my house to load the stuff I collected from the neighborhood.
He said the childhood friend, Dale Berman, he'll see this and he'll catch a shout out. We set his mother's driveway on fire.
Which is right. Everybody in audio does that.
But we were messing with the brakes and tried just some engine on a go-kart. You brought it up. I thought, oh God, I remember that time we lit and sure enough, I mean, it was just you got to go through it. The reason I'll make the connection finally because since you asked
Dale and Mrs. Berman and the Bermans were apologizing for Seth.
Thank you. We've apologized enough.
Okay, got it.
They got their sorries.
All right.
No, it really, as I was with the band, and I saw the front of house and monitor world and monitors, and I couldn't stand feedback. I mean, deplorable. It absolutely. Of course, it offends most people.
Yeah, right.
But I wanted to get rid of it. I hated. I rarely use hate. Hated that feedback loop. And I would get in front of monitors and I'd swing it, to test it. And I was really good at calling out, dump 7K, dump, 800, bring it halfway back. That's how, you know what I mean? Where I was freaking the monitors.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And it was like that started me. Then they were like, oh, you want to run monitors? That's like, all right, I'll be your kind of roadie / I did their street team, and just whatever.
Sure.
But it started a progression to go from kind of just roadie, then to do monitors, then to work in front of house, and we went on tour.
That's amazing.
And I kind of did all of it at one point. I was LD, had the big bullfrog board, had a Midas 64. I was front of house. It was nuts, and it. Go ahead.
But no, I was going to say, but that is not an unusual story.
No.
Like it's reading opportunity, then taking it, and pushing yourself into uncomfortable situations. Because when somebody says, "Oh, you want to do front of house," you're like, "Oh, damn, now it's on me." Right?
Yeah.
Like
super.
So if you're not getting that point where you're
that first
little bit afraid and you're in a new situation, you're kind of standing still. So take a lesson from that.
Yeah. One thing too, I think Seth will agree with this. We're in the business. Some people think of making records sound good, and that's true. But that's not where you stop. That's not where you start. That's where you stop.
Right.
Exactly. We're in the business of having an audience fall in love with the record that we do, and if you have the experience of seeing them fall in love live night after night after night with what you do, you kind of get a head start on the record making process that you can carry into that profession too, because immediately when you do something that's not getting the crowd going, and you kick one instrument up like the 808, and suddenly the dance floor fills up. So you learn these little things.
Yeah, I was going to say, in the analogy, it's similar to a DJ who understands how to make a crowd move.
Absolutely.
Right? Like it's the audio version of knowing this is going to, and so it translates to your record skills.
That's exactly right, for sure. The as a vocal producer, as a producer in the truest sense, I don't make beats. I leave beatsmiths do their thing. I'm a producer.
Plenty of those.
I'll call the beat maker. I'll call a drummer. I'll call a pianist. I'll call that's a producer.
Right. Taste. We sell our taste.
Right.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And in the end, I think I don't know, there's something about being self-taught as well. Yeah. And this is nothing against any higher learning. If you're the type of person that benefits from a structured education, I'd of course say it's worth it.
Sure.
For me, I think a lot of that self-taught tinkering with stuff and 60 hertz and what it feels like and high end and knowing component speakers and crossover networks, all of that instantly led itself. It's no different in theory than running sound, whether it's live, studio, no matter what. It was the principles I learned messing stuff up and attention to detail and organization, because I was tired of blowing stuff up. You know what I mean? That really lended itself.
And also for
I still love blowing stuff up.
Well, and also for both of you, because you've done both. You've self-taught, and then you've also done educational things, even as a teacher now. But I find that when you're self-taught, or at least my experience on the things I've learned myself, it makes me trust my instinct. Like if I'm feeling my way through, and I've learned that I can trust it.
Paying for taste, paying for your instinct. Your instinct is, that sounds good. Leave it alone. Or I know that it needs a little more compression or a little bit of shelf or something. They're paying for your instinct. And that's why there's so much space for so many different mixers as well. There's space for Phil Tans and Mariquins and Firkins.
Because they're all different.
And Jasons. You know what I mean? There's because we all have a sound. And if you want that sound for this record, you go to that mixer.
So go ahead.
Mine's a long one. Go first.
So nothing's changed. So the move to Atlanta.
Yes.
Right? And was that move about taking a crack at the sort of bigger game of it, learning different skills, seeing where it would be?
Total accident.
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
How did that happen?
I had a producer friend in Kentucky. I had a studio on First Street in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Louisville. Oh, yeah, Louisville. Hey, you say it right.
I say it
right.
Again.
Louisville. Perfect.
Yeah. You got to slur that shit together.
Oh, you have to. Louisville. It's not Louisville. It's none of that.
It's just Louisville.
Oh, come on, man. We'll fight over this.
Louisville.
Yeah, there you go.
Got to get it down there.
So that's how mumble rap started.
Stop it. I'm not the reason mumble rap started.
Literal.
On the record.
Hey, Future. I'm from Literal. Wow.
Right.
I like that.
So good.
I like that vibe. From Louisville. What the hell was the question?
Accident.
I was going to go Atlanta. Okay. Anyway, he had a producer. I won't mention his name because we're not friends.
Okay.
There's no reason to give him shine.
That's right.
But he was at my studio one day. I had flown out to L.A., as a matter of fact, to do some mixing. Came back, had some money in my pocket. The producer, everything was running fine in my studio. And he said, hey, I'm going to go down to Atlanta. This was 06, 07, something like that. And so I'm going to go down there and I'm going to go shopping at Lenox Mall.
I'll be there.
And I'd been there a couple times to Atlanta. I never went to Lenox. And we decided to, I was like, and of course, big stoner. And he was like, I'll buy the weed, I'll buy the gas, and I'll make my way.
Off we go.
Hell, what do I got to do? I'll do some cleaning and cooking, I guess, but I'm with you. So we went and I started just bumping into people within days of being here. Stopped a couple places, Patchwork, and a few other places. Hot Beach, back when it was on Spring Street, 1200 Spring Street, in Atlanta. And it started to make sense. I wasn't bumping into the same people in Atlanta I was in Louisville.
Right.
And I thought, wait a second, okay, I may just have to end up being in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And the housing bubble burst and a lot of stuff happened. And I think that was my one of hopefully the last big sacrifices.
Sure.
Where it's like, okay, do I stay with it?
Right.
And I think that's part of what builds character too for an engineer. Yes, it can't be golden and flowers and the whole time.
You gotta look into the abyss every now and then.
Sometimes. So for anybody who's out there in that moment, push through it, because if you push through it, I'm on Pensado's place.
Yeah.
You see what and there was a moment where who knows?
This might be your dark moment.
From what Dave said, that might be.
It might be. What was the first hit record?
Oh man, first hit record? Probably one of the bigger ones as I got to Atlanta was Shorty Red, Sensual Seduction.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't necessarily do the final mixing, but Shorty Red, I was Shorty Red's engineer. I was kind of my principal.
Okay.
He was a producer, but he was also signed to Universal as an artist. And Sylvia Rowan had signed him trying to kind of get him to be an artist. And he was better behind the board. No offense, Red, you know. But he was better behind the board as a producer. He basically was a father of trap music. Shorty Red, Jeezy, Trap or Die, that whole kind of era. But I came in, and since I was so adept at having the low end be really prominent without distorting, it was a perfect fit. Shorty Red was 808 King, 808, So all of a sudden it became, he was my future in a sense, and he ended up. I'm sorry, I chuckle, but he ended up shooting somebody 2010 New Year's Eve in his house, a trespasser, and even if you're not guilty, you still go to jail.
Right.
You still wait.
Right.
So when we're working, 15-hour days, 8 days a week, literally, all of a sudden it stops. You're like, well, I guess I got to go find something else to do. So in a sense of providence, if you will, that was when I had a little more time. So I started doing some tracking for Future. I'd really been mixing for Future at the time, but really that's when I started tracking him as well, and it just started kind of.
So
I want this long question.
You
too.
talk about low end being your forte, but it's 200 up that I like from you. I'm gonna read you a quote.
All right.
My mixes are attractive, modern, and translatable.
God, that's me.
Big drums, huge dynamic range. That's another quote. But what I feel like you brought to the industry worldwide is an appreciation for dynamics, an appreciation for the entire frequency spectrum. You can ask my assistant. I like the top end of your records. I like the fact that you're not trying to make, late '80s hip hop records from New York at 6 a.m. with an intern running the board.
True story.
And you kind of changed the way hip hop records are made now, really, you and Future, because can you tell me how that sound evolved in terms of going from the way Atlanta was before you got there?
Sure.
And I'm not saying you're the only person
Of course,
that did
absolutely
it, but
not.
you were one of the architects for sure.
Thank you.
How did that evolve? Because I'm in love with some of the Uzi Vert stuff. The high end on those records is great. There's a lot of that.
Well, you mentioned Lil Uzi Vert. That's Keisha Lee. That's doing a lot of that stuff. She was a production assistant of mine for a couple of years.
Great job.
Terrific. Oh yeah, Keisha
cool.
Lee K. Lee. She's an inspiration. And
XO is just a great record.
Absolutely, I believe.
So how did all this evolve?
Really, I wanted trap music to have the same production value and listenability as any of the other main genres. I feel like trap music, which I loved, always kind of got just enough done to make it playable. I don't think anybody really put love and passion into changing that paradigm. It was, you make a trap song, you get a $200 mix, you go on about your day.
Right.
I came in and demanded more out of the sound, and I would turn down mixes as well if it wasn't tracked right. People thought, and not to knock a project studio or a home studio, but I would turn down mixes because I can't polish a turd.
We talked about that this
Yeah,
morning.
but you can always spray paint it gold and roll it in
You can,
glitter.
but then you still just have a gold spray painted turd.
rolled in glitter.
Glittery sprayed in gold sprayed turd. Like, you got to start good in, good out. I mean, it's simple and it's common sense for a reason.
Yeah, it really does make a difference.
Really.
So now you have this vision in your head of what you want Future to sound like. How did you get him to trust you and let you do that? Because that was a big step.
Did he learn you from tracking? Is that where the relationship
I had started mixing him, Watch This, and Yeah, some of his first main singles in a sense that predated anything Pluto 3D or Pluto that he had put out that even came close to epic. He was still very, very indie.
Yeah.
His main engineer was Steve over at 11th Street, who we still have a terrific relationship with.
Hibiki?
No, Hibiki is Mike's. That's funny. You just had a conversation with Steve the other day.
I love Steve's work.
Hibiki is incredible. Shout out to Steve, man. We just talked because he saw the Instagram and he said, have fun.
And Tomei too, Alex.
Alex Tomei is amazing.
Incredible work.
And let's not forget KY. KY and I came up in Hot Beach, 1200 Spring Street. It was really KY and I dominated the like $300 to $750 mix range in Atlanta for years straight. I mean, nonstop.
Cool. But back on the subject.
For sure. And I'm trying to. I had a point originally.
Well, what I'm trying to get out of you is that moment when you realized that you and Future were kind of like the new Ali and Kendrick,
Yeah, that's right.
A lot of hours. And even though this is an opinion-based job, career that we have, you still, there's something empirical about something just sounding fucking good.
Yeah.
Sorry to
That's
cuss.
true.
It just sounds good.
Yeah.
And when you hear yourself, whether you're Future or anybody else that I was mixing for, when you hear yourself coming back on top of the track, but not out of it, when you have this beautiful verb sitting behind you, when you have these delays that happen perfectly. And I like to say I'm a headphone mixer, that you really, really appreciate what I do in headphones much more than any other medium.
But you do a lot of outside the speaker placements on things too, so you need headphones for that.
Kind of, right?
So Future. So you started morphing into more high end and more clarity, because it's hard to get depth and clarity without a little bit of high end.
Absolutely right.
It's impossible, really.
For sure.
And so, what made you feel confident and comfortable doing that? I mean, I'm still confused about
Instinct. You said it again about taste. I was not willing to compromise. I said and out of all, and I'm sure you've been through it as a ton of times, where people will say they don't like the mix because they just want to put their 2 cents in. Whether it's a label, a CEO, a manager, an A&R, I always trusted my mix. This sounds good in headphones, in the car, on the laptop, earbuds, another studio. This is empirical. This is no longer subjective.
Right.
When it just sounds good, it just sounds good.
Yeah, but you also could have committed like audio suicide, because you said you want your mixes clean, dynamic, tight, punchy,
True.
groovy, but yet you throw in some distortion too.
Have to.
But how did you sell that to Atlanta?
Because they were ripe for it.
Right.
They didn't have it.
Some things are timing.
Everything is timing.
Yeah. I get
story.
that, absolutely.
And I truly believe that, whether it's music or regular life, it's all intertwined, and timing is everything. So I feel like my skill set, my ambition, my willing to be up at 3:30 in the morning to start the session. A lot of people are, forget it, I'll do it. No, give it to me.
Right.
That's how I got the Jay-Z stuff. Russell from Hot Beats, Russ, man, thank you again. Hit me. I had just finished a 12-hour session at Hot Beats. I was tired. Got home, was in bed literally. Phone next to me, of course. Russ, and he doesn't call, he texts, he called.
That means it's important.
He said, Seth, he called me Seth, he called me Firk. He said, Seth, I can't tell you what I have, but you need to get down here.
Wow.
Shit, Russ, I just left. I don't want to hear it. Just get down here.
Yeah. And while you're driving, say the last letter in the alphabet.
Literally.
Man, how many times have we heard that same story on the show? Just about every guest has the same story.
The moral lesson
opportunity
is when the window opens, whatever you're doing, step through it.
Got to.
And the people that don't do what you did, they're running around belly aching and whining that they've never had a break yet. But they just don't see
They
them.
miss their own, but and you can block your own blessings.
When you walked in, you were like, "Oh my God!"
Right?
Is that what happened?
Well, Jay wasn't there, as a matter of fact.
They just had the session.
I thought you were talking about it here. I was like, I was a little starstruck walking in. But
You saw Chongwa.
I did. Well, Chongwa's a good dude.
Of course.
When it was Idris Elba, I recorded and arranged the very intro of that soundtrack CD. Because remember, he put out, it was American Gangster.
Right.
So there was a soundtrack, there was a CD of the soundtrack, and then there was the movie soundtrack, which had all the stuff from the score. So I did the American Gangster Jay-Z album intro with Idris reading from the thing. So that was interesting. But no, I've yet to meet Jay. But I said yet. I'm young.
Yeah, it's coming.
Yeah, he'll be around.
For sure. He might walk through here in a minute.
He may. I went down.
And what is your take on the Loudness Wars? I think we disagree on this, but
okay, I'm ready.
Nothing can be too loud. Nothing can be too loud.
Wrong.
I said we disagree.
That's okay, but I'll tell you why I think we're wrong.
But I want to hear your opinion, because I might learn something.
Because
I'm sure I will.
And vice versa. I just read the other day, and I'm paraphrasing, but that Spotify, Pandora, Tidal,
iTunes
have all reduced total DBFS by like 3 or 6.
Yeah,
Somebody might.
Spotify is now -16.
Okay.
From 14 to 16.
So what I think has happened.
That's the LUFS on that. They use that one.
Hey, thank you.
I'm not showing off.
No, but I would. Come on, you know I'm here to learn too.
No, we did it. I learned all this from Mayor. So.
Did an ITL on it.
Yeah.
So well, I'll ask it maybe later because then I'm confused what DBFS and what the two different measurements would mean.
You know what? I don't know, but let's move on.
Then take it, right? But ultimately, with the Loudness Wars, I feel like, and we could talk to Glenn Schick about this too, the mastering. Mm-hmm. He and I have been fighting the good fight for years now because I don't mind giving up a level of dynamic range. Mm-hmm. You have to. Mm-hmm. If you want something to be loud, perceived loudness is what I'm fighting over. Mm-hmm. Some songs just sound louder than other songs.
But is that a function of somebody trying to make them too loud or a function of somebody not knowing how to make them too loud?
It could be either.
Because there's a compromise to, and by the way, I think it's genre specific. So for example, a singer-songwriter song, I wouldn't
jam it out.
No, but when you're in a club or when you're at Coachella or something like that, the dance crowd, they know how to do it for their audience. You know, that over-compressed, no dynamic sound works in that environment.
If it's already sounding like that, for sure.
Yeah, you know, in that environment. But on radio, it's probably not the best thing to do.
Super
and then on Spotify, it could be suicide because they're going to yank you down based on what the apparent volume is, not the actual volume.
Exactly.
But I think there's ways that we can have a compromise where we can learn how to make things loud but still dynamic and still have vibe and stuff. We've got good tools now.
I feel like I've learned, and of course everything's cyclical.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're just in a trough of volume. Mm-hmm. I think that there will
come. A trough of volume. We should just remember that and post that as a.
I signed a waiver, didn't I?
You did, Dan. We got it.
Yeah, you got me.
Chalmer, did you slip into publishing?
Right. But realistically, I think that what happens is that I heard a long time ago that was why at night when you hear infomercials that they're so much louder because he who's loudest gets heard the easiest, and that's an easy adage to fall into.
Yeah, and that's just annoying.
Of course, it's annoying, but
I think in the early days it was what was called an AGC, automatic gain control. So they weren't bringing the high end down as much as they were bringing the low end stuff up.
Yeah,
because you hear the compressor come back.
Right.
True story. How's that go again?
I heard it right. No, I know exactly. Yeah, that's the sound.
I did it better the first time.
You did it.
Gotta use the sides. It's an MS technique I'm using on that.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Very little center.
So the Seth Firkins signature, low end, is that what you think people come for?
Yeah, I'll answer that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I would think that
tight low end.
Tight low end. And I would like to think vocally, I'm very present. Mm-hmm. A little heavy with the verb. Mm-hmm. I've heard some people say that that I'm a little heavy-handed sometimes with it, but
yeah. Tell them I said they're wrong.
Thank you.
We're in a different world. It's not 1990 anymore.
Okay, but at the same time, I know what they're hearing, and in post, I don't really like to. Number one, I don't like to hear records before I mix them. People like to send me as an executive producer sometimes. They're like, well, Ferk, let me send you 3 or 4 songs, let you pick them. I don't want to pick them. No. Right. You tell me what you like the best out of your catalog, and then we're going to put our best toward that, so to speak. I don't want you to be wishy-washy about stuff and then come back to me when it flops and say, well, you picked it.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
No, I'm a mixer. Let me mix, right?
Right.
So I think a lot of times they come to me with, they just hand it over, and they do your best with what I got. I think they do come for the low end. But still for the vocals up top.
So with your signature, does it keep you locked into a genre, or do you find people calling from all kinds of different
all walks of life?
Rock? Good.
Clearly, the bulk of the work is hip hop, R&B, rap,
which is the new pop. So we can just call it pop
But
music
realistically, it's now the largest chunk of. I'm screwing this up, but it's the largest.
Spotify it's at the top.
Well, look, I'd have they just counted
like
450 million streams for Mask Off, Future. 450 million, and just that was on Spotify alone.
Jesus.
I mean, that's 500 million streams. That's incredible to think that something I worked on or something that has been heard that many times.
But you know, one of the conversations that we have all the time,
incredible.
whether on the show or even when talking to people, and I think this is true. I want to get you guys' opinion. You and me in some different ways, and lots of us who work in this, we're really stewards of pop culture. Like we're just sort of gatekeepers who have the opportunity to do something, affect people, hopefully positively, and you have to feel responsible about that because you can have that kind of impact. 450 million streams is something you worked on that went through your taste, that somebody put in your hands.
That's heavy.
That is a huge influencer out there.
I'll take a step further. I don't think you can make records for popular culture without having at least a rudimentary knowledge of where popular culture is.
Absolutely.
Like I recently did a record, and you can tell that the songs were written by a person that wasn't really part of the culture because the slang changes every so often. I don't think you need to be something phony and try to live in the culture, but you can.
But then there's the other
you can
side.
be aware of it in order to make a record that's going to.
Well, then there's
that
the other
culture.
side of it, which
has reverb on it.
which is a testament
lot of
to both of you. So you called me the other morning, and Raphael picks up the phone and says, he can't talk right now. And I said, well, he always takes my call. He said, oh, he's in with Will I Am. Now, he didn't tell me Will was coming by, but Will, who's an influencer, obviously, sort of a cultural vanguard kind of guy, he went to you to get the Dave Pensado thing on his records, which means he's seeing that similar kind of pop culture thing, or unless you just gave it to him really cheap, which you didn't call me, so that may be the case.
Well,
No,
you know,
actually, it's not.
I appreciate you saying that. Will is, Will can use anybody he wants. I'm not sure why he chose me. We have history, and I think he wanted something similar to one
And
of
you
the
might be
first.
pretty good.
Now's not the time for modesty.
Yeah, don't
No,
be.
it
It's
is because
just
I don't want Will thinking I'm using
Pensado's place. You don't have to be modest.
But Will is a prime example. Early in on beats, big investor. Man, there were times where things he wrote and produced spent like 24, 26 consecutive weeks at number one. Yeah. He knows the culture. He grew out in the culture.
But that's
let me finish this thought.
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely.
And early in his career, I had the pleasure of working with him, and man, everybody at the label was telling him, "You got to dress different. You're too pop. You're too this. You're too that." And Will stayed the course, even under adversity, and made it work. I mean,
yeah, and I think
I have so much respect for him.
But the corollary to it for both you guys is they're calling you guys for a reason. They're not taking their thing and their statement, their newest statement to culture and what comes out of their heart, and putting it in the hands of people who aren't going to interpret it properly and make it accessible to people. You have a lot of power. You have a lot of stuff that people think are really important. Right. So I think it's great when you see it rewarded like that. You see all those streams, you go, oh man, who knew when we were making this it was going to happen, or that Will came back around. And so it's a testament to both of you. Now, what is not a testament to you both is Dave's pitching ability as a batter's box guy.
Man, get ready here.
You know, it's
I'm
baseball
doing the
season.
electronic version today.
Oh shit! Okay.
It's baseball. It's baseball season.
No, I got a special one for this man.
The box.
And, yeah, when he goes to the box, it's usually a deeper, heavier play. So
I'm with it.
But just use
I
bat
got you.
speed.
Here's
the issue as a pitcher.
Yeah.
Do you need your glasses to read it?
No.
Oh, okay, cool.
Oh,
cool.
Okay.
All right, tee up batter's box and let's go.
Condoms.
Waste of time.
Perfect. Nice answer. That's a Kentucky answer.
Waste
Never.
of time. That's terrible.
I didn't even catch him off guard. It always works.
Another apology to the ladies
For
in
every
the
lady in
house. And every lady
Condom's
watching.
not a bad word, is it?
No.
I
Just
think my
the
answer
fact
was
that we went never, waste of time was the issue.
You got me to blush.
Okay.
God.
Snares.
It's harder when it's me blushing. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Snares.
Snares. Mic placement.
Nice.
808.
Life.
Vocals. I'll help you. U87 through a 1073 to a CL1B to a flanger
He knows
to
my
auto-tune.
chain.
Okay.
I would say.
I get that point.
No, I would say.
Nothing about the side. That's what you do.
CO1B.
Okay.
I think everything else is kind of interchangeable in life. If that CO1B is there,
Got it.
sweet spot is big.
Okay.
Stereo bus.
Underappreciated.
Reverb.
Underappreciated. With a capital U.
Delays.
Essential.
Strings.
Difficult.
I
That's
thought
one
you
of
were going to say condom. Not necessarily. Don't have to have them.
those strings. But I won't expound long. I know the batter's box is about speed, but that strings tend to be one of those elements in a beat that are vexing. You know, I'll go.
Let's talk about that, because I agree.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times I
said, let's talk about it.
Damn.
I thought that's what I was doing.
I'll
Right?
enjoy it in a second.
No,
He's
in
gonna
a
finish
second.
and
Oh,
then
yeah,
we're gonna
okay.
come back.
That's batter's box. Okay.
He doesn't always clear that. That's why I'm here.
Sid in a second.
Demudding.
Demudding.
Removing the mud.
Never had to. And that's all. That's in like hyphens. So I guess in one word, right? Never had to.
And that's coming.
I mean EQ. I mean, well, I guess that would be, you know, if I'm hearing mud, EQ.
Okay.
Right? So demudding, EQ.
De-essing.
Underappreciated. I hate to keep using some of the same vernacular, but a lot of this stuff is really, you know, people don't use it enough sometimes.
If your studio caught fire,
Knock on wood.
and
that you want it to or not?
No. It's insured.
I was
just
just
God
saying, I
forbid.
thought that might be the
well,
insurance.
this is the
money.
positive wood here. If your studio caught fire, what piece of gear would you rescue? And it can't be a hard drive or a pet.
Oh, because that's the first thing I would do. Grab the drives.
Yeah, just a piece of gear.
Piece of gear. Probably the Mac, whatever it is. I mean, that's the computer. I could not do. I have Apple tattooed in my arm. Not because it's trendy, but because their platform allowed me and DigiDesign and Avid to do my job so quickly with such fast work speed and workflow that I don't think I could have done it with anything else. So out of like, you know, save the women and children and the hard drives, I guess if I had to grab one thing else, it would be
computer with Pro Tools
the
on
Mac
it.
Pro, right?
Yeah.
I guess the computer would probably be my, because everything else can be replaced. That
that's
computer
true.
is
All right,
just
now let's go back to this vexing string thing.
vexing strings. Are we done with the box?
Yeah.
So what's vexing?
Well, from my chair, and I have so much respect for classical music, and I know you do too.
Absolutely.
You mentioned several artists you like.
Sure, absolutely.
But a lot of strings, not all of them, because there's some great symphonies, but a lot of strings tend to play a tiny bit sharp so they can hear themselves within the orchestra,
Right.
and they tend to play late. So if you think of a violin, the bow comes across the string pulls back, and then releases, and so
that's what
that
makes
timing thing just drives me
latency.
nuts.
Is that what makes it hard?
Yeah,
It's part of what
they
makes-
drag this. They drag the groove sometimes.
Absolutely right. And then but I also think, and I'm not sure if this has to do with Nyquist curves or anything kind of super geeky, but some parts of the string come in faster than others. So what I think happens is, let's say you have a string quartet, and even if it's programmed, even come out of whatever, I feel like what you're saying is exactly right, that the lower strings or the slower ones come in just barely behind the frequencies of the faster, maybe higher frequency ones, right? So it's like you get this strange washing effect of the strings when they come in. It's like you kind of get the highest first, and then you get mids.
But we had one of my favorite drummers on recently, and Aaron Sterling, and he rears back this far sometimes to hit his snare. Now the time it takes from here to go to here, he has to compensate for that. So if he goes, he's late. So he has
Not
to.
if he swings fast enough.
Well, no, you can't swing fast enough. You have to swing early. So why can't string players just play a little early and it'll come out on time?
Well, let me ask you guys a question.
You see what I'm saying, right?
I do.
If you use
They're
something in
arrogant.
a sample library or a sound library of strings, does it give you more control over that as opposed to live strings?
I don't have enough. I personally don't have enough.
Well, you can play it. You can play it ahead of time and move those. You can move those easier.
You can
in
always
time.
nudge.
Yeah.
That's
no.
what I thought.
What I'm talking about is like in real life symphonies, and when I listen, you mentioned, I've got some, I'm famous for, I love Tchaikovsky.
Sure.
If you go back and listen to some of those, even the simple concertos, where it's just maybe a violin, a cello, something simple, that's part of the allure when those are the focal, when that's the energy itself is the strings, then it all sounds terrific. When you're laying those over a piano that's on time and drums that are clearly in a grid, you start getting this late kind of feel to it. So.
Yeah, I like music that moves around. I don't need precision. I want to clarify my what I said about musicians, classical musicians. There's good rock, there's bad rock, there's good classical, there's bad classical. I'm like Bruce Woodin said, you should always go see a symphony so you can know what real music sounds like. And the great symphonies, the ones usually supported by larger cities and especially some of the ones in Eastern Europe, those guys are just badass. Amazing. I mean, they play way better than I could ever play. I mean, they're just really, really tight and good.
Sure? You were bragging earlier. You were playing anything pretty well.
Not Dave bragging.
But classical musicians put in so much time to learn their craft, and it's just sad to see sometimes when they're part of an ensemble that's just not great.
Yeah.
Some of the symphonies out of Moscow and Eastern Europe are just frighteningly good. Philadelphia.
Well, they don't have anything else.
New York. The LA Symphony is really good too. I don't know that I know anybody that makes a client feel more comfortable and more creative in a studio than you. You actually, you know what I'm gonna say, right?
I have a feeling I know what the story is about.
So Future's coming to the studio. I think it was Tree Sound, maybe.
Tree Sound.
And he sprinkles rose petals on the floor. And Future walks in and he goes, "Damn, rose petals." No.
Yeah, the mumble part, but yeah, he enunciated a little well.
You know what? I hate to say this, but I spent so much time in Atlanta. I actually speak Future.
Sure.
I understand them. I swear I do.
Trap, you can get. I promise you. Yeah.
But going back to like you do candles, you spend a lot of effort making sure that the studio experience is giving your clients what they need, whether you're doing vocals or whether you're mixing, whatever.
That's important though.
And I think that's missing a lot in today's skill set.
It's an old school thing.
Well, yeah, right. In our attempt to speed things up, to economize, to reduce overhead, as engineers, we're tasked with much more than just hitting record. Obviously,
Well put.
The good ones are.
Well put.
The good ones are, and the good ones step up without the other check. Without well, how do I? No, you just got to get it done because I got to get it.
100%.
So in the same vein, the vibe is also what I feel like the engineer's responsibility. I've said this 1,000 times, say it 1,000 more, that you can make a song every day. If the vibe is off, you're never going to make a hit. The vibe has to be there. If the vibe is off, you can, the Future and I call it batting practice. He's still going to pull up a beat. We're still going to record. But we also kind of know going into it, this probably not going to be the one. But we got to stay fresh. So whether we have the best pack of beats or not, we're still going to work. But when the vibe is set, when it's 4 o'clock and we're blazed out of our minds and we get that pack from Metro, Southside of Zeta, who cares what traffic, whatever. They send it in and we're like, oh God, we pull that one up, smash it out, pull the next one, pull that one. 8, 10 songs a night sometimes and none skippable.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? Where you're like, you play them back at the end of the night and we did that tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, we did that tonight.
What's your favorite tool for a young and up and coming engineer? Like, is it the lighting? Is it
as far as vibe?
Yeah.
Lighting. I'm glad you said it. Lighting is everything.
You're a lighting guy.
Yeah, I love it.
It's so absolutely important to the vibe. You can take a very plain space and with a couple up lights and a couple colored lights, you're there. You're there. And there's something creative about when the vibe is set, when the engineer knows what they're doing, when you have pretty women abound, the vibe is conducive somehow to a hit. The deeper parts and why, I wish I could tell you.
Well, I think it shows subconsciously to the person you're recording that you care.
How important they are, and putting them on a pedestal and making them feel like a superstar.
Let me tell you what else is important. It's important that you come back and visit with us again.
Yeah,
Will you
for
do
sure.
that? Man, Louisville.
We should actually, Herb, we should actually go to him, go down to Atlanta.
Come to Atlanta.
Bring this rolling circus down there.
Let's talk about that because we are headed that way. But there's some things
I
we
said,
should talk about.
right.
No question.
Off camera, well.
DP, take us home.
Man, my assistant Nico Hamui, it's his birthday.
Happy birthday,
yeah,
Nico.
happy birthday, Nico. You know, the thoughts keep going through my head. Seth has touched on something that I think is underutilized and underthought about, the concept of making someone who comes into this technical environment that can be intimidating, making them feel comfortable enough to create. And I think that's a resource that we sometimes forget, and it can get expensive, but it's so worth it, as you can see from this. So, see you next week.
See ya.